Hello, everyone. This is Senior Editor for Gold Derby, Susan Wloszczyna, and we're going to be talking with Leroy McClain, who was Shy Baldwin and the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, both a little bit in the second season, but much more in the third. And this is kind of an expected question, but I just wonder, how did you come to be cast as Shy Baldwin, and who's a popular crooner who gives Mrs. Maisel her big break by going on tour and opening her universe for that season. So how did you get the role? How did they come to you?
No, I had actually just come back into town, back into New York where I live, and I got noticed through my agent that Cindy Tolan wanted to see me for a new role in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, for this superstar crooner, and I was like, why not? And it was actually really a pretty straightforward casting process. 2 auditions, one for Cindy Tolan and then one for Amy and Dan. And I found myself on set, I don't know, definitely less than a week later. So it was wow. pretty straightforward and pretty quick.
And now many have speculated about who Shy Baldwin is based on. And my first thought was Johnny Mathis.
Yeah.
But then I've been reading up a little bit, and other people think it's Harry Belafonte and maybe Nat King Cole. But I mean, did you do any research on your own, or did you just go by what Dan and Amy kind of gave you as far as, what they wanted from this character and who he's supposed to kind of represent from the past, the early 60s and all that?
Yeah, well, it was basically a lot of the inspiration was I started with Johnny Mathis, and that was one of the touchstones that Amy and Dan, as well as Donna Zakowska, the costume designer, wanted me to start from. So I went through a very painstaking process of watching as much of Johnny's performances that I could find, just as a springboard, trying to find a physical vocabulary for who Shy Baldwin would be. Because although Johnny Mathis, and also I also looked at Nat King Cole as well. So although they were the springboards for the character, Amy and Dan definitely wanted something fresh and unique, a unique individual all unto himself. So I definitely started by watching a lot of their performances just to build up that physical vocabulary. It was very important for me to nail down how he moves, how he carries himself, how he stands on the stage. Just very specific physical vocabulary. And that was actually a lot of fun to be able to build it from the ground.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't get to see you that much in season 2, but I love you standing by the side of the stage after she forgets to introduce the man who made it all come true for her. Right, yeah. That told me a lot about him. So, the look on your face. So.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun to kind of start creating that arc for him, to see who he is, who Shy the professional is, because when you first meet him in season 2, he's it's very much on a friendship level with Midge, on a very kind of casual level, I would say, with Midge. They meet in the bathroom, so you can't get much more up close and personal than that. And so it was very, in the third season, starting from that very moment that you referenced, it was really fun to start showing who Shy is in the professional realm.
Yeah. Now, I was probably not the only one surprised to learn you didn't sing.
Yeah. Well,
No, because I watched it. I didn't look up anything about you because I didn't know that much yet. But I was like very shocked because the lip syncing is quite phenomenal. I wouldn't have guessed. So, but do you know this guy who gave you your voice, Darius?
Oh yeah, Darius. Darius, I've known Darius. We met actually at an audition, I think back around 2008, 2009. So, and of course I'd heard his name so much. So in the theater community in New York, and so when I got cast, I was initially a little hesitant when I got the appointment because I knew that he would. This guy's not supposed to able to carry a tune, but he's got to be one of the best in the world. So I know I can carry a tune, but I'm definitely you're not going to confuse me with being one of the best singers in the world. So I didn't really know what how they were going to make it work, how it's all going to come together. But 2 days after I got the official offer to play Shy, I went to a recording session. And that's when I found out that it was Darius, which made it, it took all the anxiety away because Darius is such a generous human being. And he literally allowed me to sit on a stool like a foot away from where he was laying down the track and literally just stare at his face, see how his lips moved, how his face formed the notes that he was hitting, because I wanted to really get the lip syncing down. And I approached it a lot like Shakespeare in a way. When you sit down, you work on a Shakespeare text, it's where you take the breath, where so how much vocal mileage you have to cover before you take that next breath. So I literally would sit and watch where he took his inhalations and marked those.
Wow.
On the lyric sheet.
So you made a breathing script.
yeah. So it was very painstaking, but what was so great about working with Darius is that he was such a collaborator actually as well, as far as, vocal interpretation of the song. So he wanted to make sure that his vocal interpretation lined up with my character arc and character interpretation of where Shy was, emotionally in the arc of the season. So it was a beautiful symbiotic relationship. I couldn't have asked for, a better partner, a better person to provide Shy's silky, magical voice.
We learn more about Shy as we, the episodes continue, but it is, it's from a period where, being a Black entertainer and also living as trying to hide your gay, back, it is something that, gave you more drama to work with. And I think it was a less enlightened time. So, it would be hard on someone like that who, had to live up to a standard that probably any white straight singer never had to think about. So.
Absolutely. I think it can be easy to kind of, watching the show from a contemporary standpoint, and it can be easy to take for granted the strides that we have made as a society towards not just acceptance but celebration of the LGBTQ community. And so when you realize the time frame that we're dealing with and the immense pressure and that Shy is having to deal with, being a closeted Black gay superstar, is to find a context for that was critical for me, for that to constantly be there in the back of my mind, because I think that what drives a lot of Shy's, you know, insecurity. I mean, he's definitely got charm and pizzazz for days, but what's underneath that is this constant gnawing loneliness from just not being able to live his full truth. So that was very it's very important for me to pay respect to that.
Yeah. Well, you know, made him to have a more melancholy, because someone you can't be your full self every day is, you know, you have to think about things that, you know, you don't want to have things come out and ruin your career at that time. So, yeah, I mean, it lent more drama to who you were, and also being very entertaining on stage, and everything was great. But, you know, there's something underlying there. And, yeah, I think Sterling K. Brown's as your manager, I mean, protecting you too, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard on both of you, probably. So.
Absolutely. I love that exploring that relationship with Sterling with regards to you know to Reggie and Shy was another, you know, critical piece, but such an enjoyable piece. I mean, Sterling is he's such a generous and amazing person to work with. So much was conveyed that, you know, we discovered from like a non spoken vocabulary. I think that a lot of the clues for them and, you know, for Sterling and I is what would happen in, you know, in the gestures, in the looks, in the stares. So much is unspoken because it has to be. Given Shy's position and the nature of who he is. And so it's so wonderful to work with somebody like Sterling to kind of, you know, to define, you know, the parameters of their relationship. And I didn't even know in season 2 when I was introduced that there would be a Reggie figure. So it was such a delight to be able to play off Sterling and to have that add just another layer of complexity to Shy. You know, it's so great to explore that.
And I also liked you and Rachel when you get beat up, and that was very tender that she used her makeup, you know, tips to help you out and get yourself back to your pretty self again. So.
Absolutely. I mean, Rachel, I mean, I can't say enough about what a great ambassador she is for the show. I remember I still remember I was so incredibly nervous my first day on set in season 2, which was the bathroom scene where Shy and Midge meet, and she was so welcoming and so kind that it just melted, you know, all the hesitation kind of melted away. And what's so great about being able to join such a solid ready-made ensemble is being able to work with people like Rachel, and it was to craft the nature of Shy and Midge's relationship, which is, I think it's a beautiful, complicated one. And that scene that you reference on the boat might just be, I think it's my favorite one. There are a lot to choose from.
I was hoping it was going to be, yeah, because it was a special moment, and then things get worse from there.
Yes. And it was great. I mean, we shot that, you know, because we filmed in Miami. We were down in Miami for 2 weeks, and that was the very last scene that we shot. And there was a very last scene that was shot in Miami, and it was, I don't know, about 1, 2 in the morning. So it was that scene. It was dramatic for a lot of reasons. I think the exhaustion really kind of helped.
Yeah.
For the poignancy of that scene. I love that scene. even when we read it at the table reads. It really got to me.
Well, I've spoken to a few other, like Marin I talked to, and Michael, and it's like they feel like every episode is like a film, because the production values, I mean, just the first episode alone, that would break anybody else's bank. But I mean, they go all out, and it's wonderful to see on TV. And I'm sure you enjoyed, wearing your outfits and all that.
Come on, I mean, who doesn't like? I remember when we showed up to film the first scene of the USO. It's kind of hard not to feel like an absolute rock star when you've got, 900, enthusiastic, beaming background actors just, chanting and cheering for you. And you've got, the Rockettes performing. You've got, you got an amazing band behind you. And you've got Midge doing her stand-up. And we spent a week out there on that alone. And it was like I was a kid in a candy store. I mean, everywhere you'd look, there was some detail. I mean, nothing was spared as far as attention to detail. And that hats off to Bill Groom, a production designer, and Amy and Dan. I mean, they're fearless, and I love working in an environment like that of just absolute fearlessness.
So you got to be part of the ensemble that won the SAG Ensemble Award, right?
Yes, yes.
That's great.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to the actual ceremony because I was down filming in Atlanta. But I did get to watch it from my hotel room, and I did get to maybe embarrassingly scream at the top of my lungs.
Well, that's not bad.
Right.
As long as you didn't scare anyone. So.
I don't know. It was a pretty large hotel, but I'm sure there was a few heads that were turned at around,
whatever.
9 or 10 that night. But it was, and I just think it was just a well-earned award for everybody in the ensemble. I mean, it really is. I know it's kind of a cliche to say that it's like a family, but it truly is. It truly is like a family, and getting to go show up and go to work every day with these amazing talents. It's a dream come true.
Yeah, and now. You are in a big movie coming out.
Yes.
Respect. And I got to go to the Dream Girls set, and I know I interviewed Jennifer, in the day, so I know what you're up against with it.
I gotta tell you, Jennifer. I mean, Jennifer is just an absolute class act, and I can't wait for people to see the film, because we shot for like 3 months down in Atlanta, and so it was great to go from Maisel directly to Respect, which covers a good chunk of time. But I remember the very first scene that we filmed took place in 1960. And which is exactly the same years as season 3 of Maisel takes place in. So the continuity, I couldn't have asked for a better project to step into right after wrapping the season.
Well, I forgot to say it's about Aretha Franklin and her family, and you play her pastor brother Cecil. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, her pastor brother manager Cecil Franklin. Yes.
And do you get to sing?
In that, actually, we all have younger versions of ourselves since it's been such a large chunk of time. The younger Cecil does sing, but when I pick up playing the mature Cecil, we'll say. He's already started to go into his he's college age, and then he starts moving more in the managerial route, even though Cecil was a fantastic singer, as were all the siblings in the Franklin family. But Cecil decided he was going to take basically his father's track and go down being a pastor and being a manager, which is exactly the same role that Aretha's dad, that our dad followed, who was played by Forrest Whitaker in the film.
Yeah.
So,
that's not bad.
no, right? I mean, to work with Jennifer Hudson and Forrest Whitaker, and Mary J. Blige, and I mean, it was just it's Marlon Wayans. I mean, it's a fantastic cast, and it was just a blast to live, just to like literally step inside Aretha's catalog. I mean, just to hear that music and to be around that. We even got to meet her family, some of Aretha's family that's still living. They came to set and they were there a lot, and so it was just to hear the firsthand stories of what it was like in that household. It's priceless.
And now that's coming out around at Christmas.
Yeah, it was originally supposed to be in early-ish October, but then it's got a Christmas Day release, which is...
Well, that makes sense. No.
Yeah.
But now I have one last question for you. Now, given the way things ended between you and Mrs. Maisel, are you going to be on the next season?
Like, none of us. What's so fun about Maisel is that nobody except for Amy and Dan really know anything, and that goes right up until just before shooting begins. So nobody knows for sure, but all I would say is that I love portraying Shy, and I would not be upset if he continues to be a part of Mitch's life in some way.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time, and I'm very much looking forward to this movie too. So good luck to you. Be safe and all that.
Absolutely. You too.